All right. Grand Rising, Grand Rising. This is the Straight Talk Morning Show. My name is Andre Hill, your host, and we got the two old heads on today. Clarence, Terrence. How you doing this morning, Chairman?
Oh, I'm doing fine, thank you. Yeah, a little chilly out there. We got this yo-yo weather this time of year. We can get all four seasons in one week. But yeah, we have to deal with it. Spring is here.
Well, it's here in Florida, like I was born here, and I've never seen weather like this before here in Florida. This is a very unusual season of cold weather, for 3 or 4 days and then hot. We usually have two seasons, uh, hot and chilly. So now we've been having cold and nice spring weather, and it's weird, man. And so I it's a sign of the times. So, but anyway. We're probably gonna have a short show today. My engineer is taking the day off, and so we're gonna basically it's gonna be you and I, Chairman. So to get right into the topics, usually I post every Friday on Facebook what the topic is gonna be. I think I accidentally hit the button for Instagram, so. So I'm learning this system, man. As our show expands, we probably have more technicians to come in and work with this social media or getting the notification out or what's going on. But anyway, I posted "Good evening, family" tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Straight Talk Network. You can reach us at the Dre Day 5285. You can find that on in the notice. Just press that link and it'll take you to our live YouTube channel, or you can watch us right here on Facebook on Andre Hill Sr. On my page. We will be projecting live. So the topics of the day is in 1974. Miss Piggy was introduced to the Muppet Show, which started the brainwashing narrative of how melanated women will look and act. Also, our Grand Queen Mother received a vision on how to reverse this dilemma. So I'm gonna have to clarify that because I went to visit with her yesterday and she had a unusual dream. Also, the current administration has demonstrated its intent towards all humans of Earth. If you still believe in the democratic hypocrisy of the US, you are seriously delusional. For directions in this period of revelation, be sure to read lucifersrevenge.net. The truth will set you free. Go to lucifersrevenge.net and it will help you understand how all this is coming about. And so that, if you're getting depressed, worried about your funds going to be cut off, this is a paradigm shift, and it explains who Lucifer was, or in relationship to low frequency energy all over the universe. So this is not happening on Earth. It has happened all over the universe, and every civilization that have reached this point in history had to go through what we're going through. So I did some research and about Miss Piggy, and when you think about the transformation that that women, and I'm particularly concerned about melanated women because I know without a doubt that they were specifically targeted because I tell women all the time, I say, look, when we get our women back, the war is over. I mean, it's I mean, it's over. When our women wake up and say, You know what? We're paying this high rent, cars, we have this illusionary freedom, and we have bought into a system to basically control our men. And if they get out of order, we can call the police, the judge, or whatever the case might be, and check our men. And so this order was manufactured, or this system was created back in the 1600s. It started out with the Willie Lynch letter, but it got more sophisticated. So this particular character, Miss Piggy, um, I did some research on her mental disorder, and how it was projected and how it was absorbed by the melanated women in our community. So this starts out in 1976. Miss Piggy started out in the chorus of the Muppet Show. That's a key point right there. A lot of our women, and even myself, when I was a kid, I sang in the choir at a Baptist church less than 200 yards from where I'm living right now. And
Well,
my my first solo was going up yonder, and so I I had intentions of coming from that generation in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, listening to the Temptations, Marvin Gaye, and hey, Chairman, you were living right there. You were in Detroit.
right, all around me.
It But it was like football and basketball. It was our way of it, out to escape, poverty, through the illusion of fame and fortune, the limelight. Everybody wanted to get a singing deal. Yeah,
Right.
can you expand on what was going on in Detroit back in the 50s and the 60s?
Well, back in the 50s and 60s, there wasn't that much opportunity for blacks. So singing was unique, that everybody knew how to sing. And in your churches, that's where you really got your voice. Like you said, when you were younger in the Baptist church, you go in any church, if you want to hear some good singing, you could hear it from the outside walking by. And, you'd go in there and just be thrilled, uplifted. So then Motown came into existence, and that just drew more singers in the game. So Motown had a reservoir of people to choose from. You could go any day to Motown Museum. Back in the day, it wasn't a museum, it was actually a house where they had their studio, and you could just go in there and audition. So it was really jumping. And that's what just made the times exciting, because music, as we know it, just it lifts you up in so many ways. Even there's a lifting up sometimes in the blues. It make you kind of feel good, even though it can make you sad, but there's a lot to it. But the music, that it was the place. Detroit, Motown, all over. you know and unfortunately, they had to take the show out to California, and that stopped some opportunities because some people couldn't afford to go out there and audition. But when it was here, you can just get out of school and go down there and audition.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I do remember Diana Ross was a teenager when she must have gone down to the studio.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, man. So these individuals, they understood the psychology of creating an identity distortion, and somehow or another they calculated this into how it reflects into the melanated aboriginal or black community. And like they said, she started out in the chorus. And I'm looking here at some of her dresses and the hats, that she was wearing, and that it was very common for sisters to be dressed up like this. But Miss Piggy had this pale skin, this blonde wig, and these lips. In this particular, what I'm looking at here, it didn't have the red lips, but of course, at some point, that was incorporated into her look. So, but to go on, she made her presence known and soon became the lead and female fatality on the show. Quickly, her career expanded to include television specials, home videos, records, and books. And not saying that all the other communities don't do that, but when I first wrote my book, I used to hang out at this bookstore, and I said, bro, this brother, it was a black man in Nashville, Tennessee, that had a bookstore. And he, without a question, listed my book and promoted it, my first book, The Second Coming. And it did fairly well in this bookstore. But he told me, I said, well, are there, many black authors? He said, man, now this was back in 2000. Um, he told me back then, yeah, there's about 9,000 black writers. 9,000, books of melanated people trying to get their story of abuse out, what the trials and tribulations that they've gone through. So it seems like this Muppet show, even though these cartoonish type uh,
Characters.
characters, yeah, it mirrored what was going on in the black community. Okay, so here's the thing that really got me. Um, I've even joked that Miss Piggy shares the traits with those like myself. Now, this is some writer who have borderline personality disorder. She has unstable relationships, is terrified of abandonment, experiences emotional instability, and sometimes behave in a volatile, impulsive way. For example, four traits used to diagnose BPD. All right. So that's Chairman, now when I'm doing this show, and I'm focusing on our women because once again, like I said at the beginning of the show, once our women get back on board with the black community and reestablishing balance, this war between good and evil is over. You know, and so I don't want my women to think, why am I beating up on women? I'm going to talk about our men too, with the sagging pants to represent, a prison culture that, I'm ready to have sex, homosexuality, that kind of thing. And, we're going to talk about that as well. But when the statement I made about when we get our women back, the war is over. The war between good and evil is done. You know, that's a powerful statement. And I tell our women that all the time. So if you think I'm trying to beat up, I'm not a Kevin Samuels trying to degrade our women or lower down. I think what he was doing was basically trying to shape our women out of this illusion of reality or this illusion of the power and the false expectations that women have. But what I'm basically my focus is to get our women to see the brainwashing tactics that were used to get them to the state of where they are. You got it. What do you think about that, Chairman?
Well, what you said about our sisters getting it together and just making it a new day for us all, I can see that. It's a couple months ago, a girl that I grew up with, her mother and my mother grew up together, she passed away. And she was a nurse, a retired nurse, but she was in the, what is that, woman's fraternity, Delta,
Yeah.
one of those. But it was big, it was huge. And it was at this real big church. And I bet it was at least 800 or 900 people there. Now, I didn't know she was that deep into that organization, but they were so cool the way they were organized. And there was two different fraternities, and one did their program, and then the other one came up, and took the stage. And it was beautiful. And I just felt the power that all those women, in order, had their programs together. If you had the brothers that had that type of organization, game over. Game over. You
Yeah,
know.
man. Yeah, I didn't think about that, Chairman.
Oh
And
yes.
and but those organizations, especially the AKAs, I have tried to communicate with them, and I can't get no involvement from them sisters, man. I know I'm radical. I may not have, fell into the Caucasian house Negro mentality, but you're right. If we have all those sororities to get behind a movement or organizing our people, man, yeah, that will end the war overnight.
Yes.
The black female sororities can end this war overnight. All they got to do is step up and say, okay, we're gonna put all these illusions away about we all this in 12 bags of chips. And we're gonna get behind some radical brothers that gets it, that understand what it means to be a man. I try to prove to anytime I engage with our women, if I say I'm gonna be somewhere, I'll be there. If I'm running late, I will call and say, I'm running late.
Right.
Um, if I see that they're being threatened, I'll get behind our women and say, hey, mister, hey, whoever you are, other
Whoever.
cultures, you
Right.
ain't messing with this woman. That's I get a high off of that. You know, I'm not gonna sell out our people. You can't offer me any money. You can't offer me nothing on the physical plane to sell out our people. So, Chairman, I don't know. I hope some of those sorority sisters are listening. But
Absolutely. I know there's some.
yeah, we have a movement. It's called the United Aboriginal American Republic. We are separating from the United States government because it has proven, as demonstrated by the most recent election of this president, that it has an intent to destroy our culture. And to my sorority sisters, you may be doing all right now, but you see those jobs, being eliminated. This man ain't gonna stop. He's gonna cut all of the essential. Now, let me explain something to you. I had never been in a drug treatment center. I probably could have used some help at some point in my life, from all the crazy things that I've done. But when you are, this is what I've heard in the drug treatment center. When you are addicted to a drug, um, you have to replace this addiction with an alternative substance or something you can do in your life to fill that void of why you need to have this drug. you know. So all these people are being cut off, just cut. And they're not taking in consideration the damage, the psychological damage is going to cause. All of these systems, the educational systems, um, the social benefit systems, all of this, we have been addicted to this drug for a very long time. Now, one thing about the Trump administration, there are things that I agree with. that, that are, there is waste. There is a lot of waste. And the Democrats have been guilty of participating in creating a lot of this waste. But there are still some good programs. And when you just cut people off cold turkey, sometimes that's a good treatment, but a lot of times everybody can't handle a cold turkey kind of situation. And
True.
you got to replace it with something. You got to even the hope. Look, we're gonna cut this program off, but we're gonna divert those funds, on a level where we can substitute, underpin these programs, especially with melanated people who was here in this country for thousands of years, before anybody came here, before the Mongoloid Native Americans, before they were here, definitely before the Caucasians were here, black people was here in this land, and the land was ravaged, stolen. Any land that the black folks were holding, they were murdered, like the Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Rosewood, and 50 other cities. We've talked about it on previous shows. And so, and there was a straight out agenda of white supremacy. And that, if you had melanin in your skin, you were a target. So there is a lot of mental disturbances going on in our community, because high blood pressure is one of its main contributors is the stress
Stress.
trying to survive, and being constantly cut out of different systems, the banking systems, the governments, were representatives were handpicked because they knew that those melanated people in these government positions, were basically in it for themselves and not their constituents. All this stress, and disorder is what we've been going through. So anyway, I don't want to get too far off topic, but let's get back into what prompted me to talk about this show. So if you go to our website, uaaronation.org, you will see a very powerful sister, and she's a New Yorker, and very powerful, very I can't, very conscious. And she'll be 90 years old this year.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was raised up in a culture of entertainment in the Brooklyn and Harlem areas. And when she was born, I asked her, I say, is it right if I talk about, this vision you have? And she when she was born, Adam Clayton Sr. was an icon in the community. So the black folks knew he was a powerful man, and they used him as a mentor or as a leader for all the children to follow and to look up to. And they even used him in a manner that, hey, if you don't get good grades, Adam Clayton Powell, senior, not the junior, he's not gonna like that. You got to show up. You got to be twice as good. Adam Clayton Powell will be proud of you. And I went, wow, that's and this was back in the 30s, you know. And so as she told me about the story, how he was in the community, and also his son, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who went on to become, icon in the legal community and what have you. But what she told me was she had a dream, a vision 2 nights ago that she was sitting in a room with Adam Clayton Powell Jr. And he said to her, now, mind you, we just uploaded her picture. She was already involved with the organization that was becoming self-sustainable in the New York area. They had clothing, food, all of these sort of things. But he came to her in this vision. Adam Clayton Powell Jr., he said to her, you got to do something to stop our women from buying this Chinese hair. He didn't
Mm,
say India hair. He didn't say Russia's hair. He didn't say uh, in the hood hair. He said you got to stop them from buying this this Chinese hair. You know, now I don't know. I was under the impression that India was involved with a lot of it, but these dreams have meanings, underlining meanings to them. Is China involved in putting some kind of chemicals in these hair? Are they involved with the mass production of processing this artificial? I don't know, and she didn't know, and she thought to herself, she said, that is, that's a hell of an order, you know, for her to get black women to stop buying this Chinese hair. Um, the only thing that I can relate to outside, I got a confirmation because she's our grand queen mother, with our organization, and she is seriously wise. It's like an honor to have her in the organization. To bring that wisdom to help our children, to be a mentor and an icon. And but there were subliminal messages. So if you're watching this show, you may pick up something, but I'm giving it to you the way she gave it to me. She said, and she said, wow, she was befuddled because she was like, how can I do that? And I lit up like a Christmas tree. You
mhm.
can do it through our organization because right now, melanated people don't have any other option. As you've seen by this Trump administration, they don't care about your sorority, your degrees. They don't care about your status in the community. If you're melanated and you're not of a Nazi Aryan nation mentality, they're cutting you. It's clear as day. And a lot of you still are delusional, and even you're not going to see it right now, but it's going to continue. It's not going to. This is why this brother is starting this assault on the hypocritical democracy so early because he's exposing all of his opposition to the agenda that he wants to get. He is the last stronghold of white supremacy. And because the Caucasian male understand without white supremacy, they will be genetically eliminated because it's been difficult. On an average, now I'm not saying that all Caucasian men are weak, but on average, it's difficult for them to survive. Even in the and when the stock market crashed, back in the 30s, when they realized they were going to lose everything, a lot of those men started jumping out of buildings, committing suicide. You remember any of those stories, Chairman?
Oh, yes, you'd see they made pictures out of them, In fact, that might have influenced some of them during 9/11, jumping out the windows. Instead of just being burned to death, oh, jump out the window, end it quick. But
Well,
definitely I remember different programs back in the day. The
yeah.
stock market caused people to just commit suicide. They couldn't stand the loss.
Yeah. And so what the black people do, we've been accustomed to losing all the time. We just toughen it up. We adjust the food, whatever we have to wear. We come up with creative means to survive. But I have a video. Our engineer is not on today, and I may play it on the next couple of shows. But a lot of Caucasian men that voted for Trump, they just broke down in tears. I'm losing my business, what I built for my son, and and they realizing that the Trump is supporting the billionaires club to help get him elected. He don't care about you Caucasian men. If you're not a billionaire, you're in trouble, man. You're in
That's
trouble.
for sure. It's been that
Yeah.
way for a long time.
Yeah. Now we have a plan for Caucasian men. You can't join our nation because we're going into a cocoon and we're going to start healing. We've been damaged. We don't have any trust, not the majority of us, but we have a plan for Caucasian men that want to organize, their own little groups and start focusing on reversing the generational curses that they bought into under white supremacy, which has destroyed our planet. Our waters are contaminated with plastics. Our earth is contaminated with oil and stuff bringing up out of the ground. Our air is contaminated from vapor trails being sprayed,
Chemtrails.
chemtrails. Man, yeah, I mean, all is not lost, Caucasian people, Caucasian men. You can do some things, but you got to reverse the generational curses. It has a strict accounting system. What you do under the bed you lay, is the bed you're gonna sleep in. And so you have to fix these things. You got to go and fix the environment because of it. You benefited from white supremacy until you found out, what ultimately white supremacy was all about. You're getting ready to find out about that. So that dream. So this is what I told the our grand queen mother. I said, that dream wasn't just for you, it was for me. I needed to hear that. I said, because Queen Mother, any women that are coming into our organization, they have to go through your institutions. And when they come into our organization, you're going to tell them, you're not coming in here, you're not going to influence our young girls with this nonsense, with this fake hair and all this makeup and these eyelashes and all that stuff. Miss Piggy portrayed all those symptoms. She created a new culture. They did that, and it's creating an identity crisis. Our women are lost. They've gotten away from their natural beauty. So when they find out that we only have one option left, and that option is to separate from this hypocrisy and this racism and build our own communities, become self-sustainable, cook our own food, grow our own food, make our own clothes, build our own houses, and we're gonna be protected because we are dealing with a metaphysical concept of protection versus praying to the gods that they were creating, that the white supremacy created. See, you sending, giving energy to a God and an image that they created. All that was calculated through the Council of Nicaea. It was all planned, So don't feel like here's something I think that we need to understand. This technology was given to the Caucasian. They didn't have the sense enough to come up with this. Their tactic was barbaric and savage. Rob, kill, steal, lie, cheat. That's their way. But another advanced civilization gave them this technology in exchange for their loyalty. And that's how it became. It seems like, the Caucasians were smart. They were given this technology because their mentality, if you ever read the Willie Lynch letter, when Willie Lynch came to Virginia and he was riding up the Jamestown River, I think it was, and I might be wrong about that. He said, I see you wasting good stock by hanging these black people in the trees and mutilating them. That's not good economics. He said, I'm going to give you a system that will help you control them so you can sleep at night. And everybody, a lot of people know about the Willie Lynch letter or the concept, but it was a scientific document that will work anywhere in the universe. How you turn people against each other using a variation of skin color. So anyway, so I put in the message that Queen Mother um, what is that? Brainwashing narrative of how melanated will look and act. Our grand queen mother received this vision on how to reverse this. So the vision wasn't just placed on her what the burden wasn't laid on her shoulders for her to do this, but as a collective in our organization, she can influence the women that are going to wake up and realize, our organization is about love and respect for everybody. We're not creating a dictatorship. We have a very particular organizational chart. We have a council of elders where the chief or the prime minister don't make all the decisions. There are no dictators. We sit around at a round table and discuss where we are going in our community, how we're going to grow our community, how we're going to develop structures of education, feeding ourselves, everything becomes self-sustainable and not depending on a mentally deranged, psychotic government system. So our organization, we have a council of elders, and our grand queen mother, at 90 years old, she's on that committee, and she's bringing her 90 years of experience. The chairman, you right at 80 almost, right?
Almost 2 more years.
Yeah, man. So the chairman's experience, my experience, I'll be 73 this year. And I'm gonna bring all that knowledge of my 66 years of business experience on how to do things. And so we will sit at our round table and everybody's equal, the men, the women, and we're doing this with love. And so when you come in and we're gonna be recruiting more elders and we're gonna be setting up more groups all over the United States as we gather ourselves, and we're going to share this knowledge with all the melanated countries all over the world because we were the original people, and we understand why Caucasian people were created. It was necessary. We're not hating them, but we understand why they were created, and we're going to fix that problem, with love. Hey, Chairman, what do you think about that vision?
Well, like you say, you got to have a backup plan. The way things are, we're being disenfranchised with a lot of programs. And we've got this Trumpster in there. He's cutting everybody, all programs, regardless if you're black, white, yellow, red. He's trying to gain so much control that, he will be a dictator. And Elon Musk is right behind him. And for some reason, I keep getting this feeling that Elon is setting Trump up for a fall, where wants to take center stage and control it all, even with his program of trying to be the you know, uh, first group of people on Mars. He wants to get that planet and claim it to be his. Just like in old settler days when they moved out west and they captured the territory and put the stake in the ground and say, this is ours. They did the same thing on the moon when they stuck the flag in the ground. This is ours. But you can't claim the whole moon, just like you can't claim the whole planet Mars. But, we're not the only ones trying to get to Mars. China's trying to get there too because they know what's going on. They know that, if you get out there and you're on Mars, you can control Earth because you're out there in space and you're looking back. You got that technology. And we got to worry about getting the wrong people out there in control because if they wanted to eliminate us as a people, they could drop gases on us and, it'd be worse than the pandemic that was going on. And we don't want that to happen. And it's not going to be just excluding to blacks. It's going to be some whites caught up into that trap too. If we let it go that far, I don't believe we will because I think we're waking up as a society. We know we got to come together. We know we got to have each other's backs, you know, but I can understand why China's trying to get out there because they don't want to see the United States out there controlling this situation because then they're at jeopardy of losing their country or the power that they have. And they don't want someone dictating to them. We've got to learn how to live in harmony with each other, and help each other and not throw all these boycotts out and what do you call it? When you go and the tariffs and stuff like that. A lot of that's unfair, and we've got to be fair. We've got to share, and that way things will come together and work out. But we can't be greedy and try to use people as pawns and control them by taking over everything and not fairly distributing it because we all need something. Even if you got a whole lot, if you lose it, you're going to need some more. Just the way it is, the way life is, you got to have something. But we don't need it to be controlled by some renegade force that's going to be, you know, self excluded, just within their own means of controlling it and not sharing it. That would I think end this planet totally with the twinkling of an eye. Because people aren't going to stand back and watch their babies starve, no less than themselves starve. You're creating a bigger problem than what you have. We can solve these problems if we come together and work with each other. But having this you know embargoes and these tariffs that we're doing, it's not too good for society the way I see it. you know and I feel there's more than enough for everybody. But why try to control it and be unfair with it? You know, that's where the problem lies, the unfairness.
Absolutely. So to conclude, the vision that our grand queen mother had, one, we have a program, and the young people coming in, we're going to get back to our natural identity with our women. All of this fake hair and these eyelashes and all of this crazy attitudes. We're going to start that healing process. And to our men, with that this culture, to our young men, we understand the psychological damage. We understand that our women were forced to raise families as single mothers, and a lot of these families didn't have men in them to help guide these men, to help teach these young men how to do things. Yeah, we fell in our generation. We fell with that because we went for the okadoke, but we recognize the damage that was done, and this is why, Council of Elders, we are going to be set up to fix that. So that's that vision that the Grand Queen Mother had. It was a confirmation that when the Adam Clayton Powell Jr. came to her in that vision and said, "You got to stop our women from wearing this Chinese hair," and there's a message in there, and I
Absolutely.
I got the message. So some of you sorority sisters and all of that, y'all, if you're still in the mode that you want to control black men, or you that you have arrived and you're seeing how that illusion is unraveling in this government. If you want to get into a tribal community, we have that. We're developing this right now, and we have many years of experience. So anyway, getting on to the second topic. Um, Also, the current administration has demonstrated its intent towards all humans on Earth. If you still believe in this democratic hypocrisy of the U.S., you are seriously delusional. So I have not verified this source yet, but Chairman, can you see that?
Okay.
Is it too small? We
Look, I can see it. They wore all white military 3.
Yeah,
And
let me
Donald
read it.
Trump,
Let me read it for you. So anybody, this is a YouTube video, and
okay.
basically what it's saying, they want an all-white military. Donald Trump moves to purge Black Marines from serving in the military. Now, let's see if I can go to this and see if we can play it. Um, this is the thing that you was talking about. We're doing our best, Chairman, with this talk show, but we have limited resources. And let's see if I can play this here.
In the Marine Corps for a few years. I was an enlisted guy, not an officer. So I was in boot camp with a lot of Black Marines who had trouble with razor bumps or shave bumps. I don't know what they called them. When you have curly hair and you shave, sometimes the hair goes up inside and you have an ingrown hair there. And some people are afflicted because of genetics to have it even worse. And so in boot camp, this isn't for Black men who are watching this, because this is for white people who don't know, or if you weren't in the boot camp, but there's like a cream that they put on. It's like Nair that kind of burns the hair off, so you don't have to shave it, and so you have less of a problem with it. Well, right now, the Republican Party, the most organized and effective white supremacy organization on the planet, the Republican Party, Donald Trump, the whole DEI nonsense, they're so against diversity in our world that they are going to be kicking out Marines, Black Marines, who suffer from this genetic condition and have a hard time shaving. I've been talking about, look, they're deleting tens of thousands of images in databases celebrating the diversity in the military. Just pictures of Black folks doing their jobs, of women doing their jobs, of gay and lesbian and transgender soldiers just doing their jobs. They're deleting any trace of it because they want to erase the contributions of individuals who aren't straight white men. It's the way it is. Because you know what I can tell you? You know what they're not deleting? Pictures of straight white men, right? I didn't think that in the Trump administration I would be reading from military.com, which is the newspaper that deals with military issues. These are a lot of these people are veterans, but this is a newspaper that covers military issues, military news. Here we are, though. Here's the headline: Marines with skin condition affecting mostly Black men could now be booted under new policy, meaning kicked.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I know I've said that a few times.
okay.
Kicked out of the military. A new Marine Corps policy says troops with a genetic skin condition that can cause pain and scarring from shaving and mainly affects Black men, can be separated if the health issue persists. The, quote, interim guidance issued Thursday gives military healthcare providers 90 days to reevaluate Marines diagnosed with pseudofolliculitis barbae, I think is how you say that. Pseudofolliculitis barbae, or PFB. Now, PFB, that's way easier. Or PFB. If they don't recover based on a 4-phase treatment program outlined in the message, have to remain on a shaving waiver for more than a year, and a commander deems it fit. The Corps can administratively separate them due to incompatibility with service, according to the message. The directive marks a reversal from a previous Marine Corps policy issued in 2022 that prohibited the service from administratively separating Marines solely based on the condition, which is caused when curled hairs grow back into the skin, resulting in inflammation. It also comes at the same time Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered a military-wide review of standards specifically focused on issues such as shaving, waivers, and body fat. Quote, in cases where a medical condition prevents a Marine from meeting required standards for an extended period exceeding 1 year, administrative separation may be considered if it affects long-term service compatibility. Major Jacoby Getty, a spokesperson for the Corps Manpower and Reserve Affairs, said in an emailed statement Friday when asked why Marines are no longer exempt from separation due to PFB. Quote, he says, however, Every effort will be made to support Marines through treatment and recovery before such decisions are considered. Getty emphasized that the new guidance is meant to imbue consistency across medical exemptions and that the service remains fully committed to supporting Marines with PFB. It's not being applied consistently when this is an affliction that I think they say like 60% of Black guys have. Oh, it says Black service members make up about 15 to 16% of the active duty force, they said, but 66% of shaving waivers holders are Black. This is to target Black Marines. This is to target Black Americans. This is to target people who want to serve their nation. It's not white people that are largely going to be impacted by this or even minorly impacted by this. It's Black folks. That's why they're deleting the contributions of Black heroes who got the Medal of Honor after being wounded, high-ranking individuals that they replaced the link on the website with DEI medals. Just because he was Black and got a Medal of Honor, it was a DEI medal, even though he was wounded in combat multiple times. This is white supremacy. This is wanting America to be a white ethno-state.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So,
Wow.
Once again, I understand what's happening, you know, and this goes back to our book, Lucifer's Revenge. Go online, get you a copy of that book. It's lucifersrevenge.net. And it will help you to understand why white supremacy exists, why Caucasian people exist, who were the original humans made in the image of the Most High, and what we're going through right now. It'll help you understand that. It'll help reconstruct your mental sanity. It'll give you a different view of the universe. It'll give you a better understanding what metaphysics means, what the supernatural sciences are all about, and how we're going to evolve as a species. Go get you a copy of the book and start reading it, and it'll give you some peace of mind. So, what Donald Trump is doing, he's made my job, me and the chairman's job, real easy on getting people to understand what we're going through right now and how we're going to overcome it. Because I don't take anything away from Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, particularly Martin Luther King. We shall overcome. We will, but you're going to have to get rid of your brainwashing, Miss Piggy, brainwashing. Donald Trump is doing exactly what he needs to do right now to get our people to wake up, and that's what this is all about. And you can come and get involved with us, UAARnation.org. Go to the site. It's still developing. We don't have a whole lot of resources. We need the AKAs, the Deltas, all you different groups, you sorority sisters. If you ain't woke up to understand what's going to happen, the Trumpsters don't care nothing about your sorority status. What he knows is that you melanated women, you have the mitochondria, the DNA that gave birth to every human on this planet. So he's going to keep you delusional as by any means necessary, all the way up to the point where they flip these switches of exterminating you. Donald Trump studied Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler's book on how to become a dictator and ultimately purge different groups, from this planet. And so that's where he's headed, and history is repeating itself. So if you decide to wake up and smell the coffee and want to get out of that, come join us with UAARNation.org. Find a way to get in touch with me. I'm in Tampa. Everybody knows me here. The NAACP, you can find me. I sent the video that I just played to a Marine that moved to Tampa, to get his opinion. He was quiet. You know why he was quiet? Because he done bought into society, where he's gonna be quiet and don't rock the boat. And I'm still waiting on him to call me to just give me a little insight on what he saw. And I have not verified this source. It was sent to me by a reliable source. So you can go online and look it up. You know, the caption was Donald Trump moves to purge Black Marines from serving in the military. Go check it out. Verify the source. Get back with me if it's some BS. Hey, call and let me know. Say, hey, Andre, you didn't verify this source. Hey, once again, we are Black men. We have limited resources. We're doing our best, to demonstrate that we're here to protect our women and our children and build a self-sustainable community, that's going to do business with all melanated countries all over the planet, Africa, the Caribbean, South America. We're going to bring the technology to resurrect our people from the brink. Melanated skin is needed on the surface to protect you from the sun rays. So if you got to create an artificial system because you're not one of the original children of the Most High, something wrong with that picture. Hey, Chairman, how do we find your book? Tell us about it, and we're going to wrap this show up.
Okay, my book, God's Child. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble. What is it? Getting that mind thing going again.
Take your time, Chairman.
But we talked about a lot of things today. Some things I wanted to talk about, but it's not time right now. But yeah, it's an ebook. You can get it as an ebook. I'm trying to do an audio book of it. I'm looking at different ways, and it's a cost, so I got to deal with that issue because I understand now that audio books are becoming very popular. You could drive your car and it'll read to you. So I'll let the audience know more about that in the near future. But yes, my book was created to bring us all together as a human race, you know, and we can't depend on the United States to protect us. Look what happened in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol. How did they protect the soldiers? Or the police officers weren't even protected. So we can't expect America to protect us. We have to come together like a lot of small groups do to draw protection and protect us against some of these insane groups that are trying to take America over, you know. And if we do come together with the sororities and the fraternities, we can protect ourselves, you know. And that's not something that's impossible, but we have to come together. We've got to create a heavenly environment for the people on this planet, you know, and it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen with shows like this here coming out, exposing a lot of the foul things that are happening. You need to know. You need to know a lot of things that we're discussing and exposing you to, because this is to benefit us all. We're not separating from other groups. We're just protecting our group. And we can do it by being in harmony with other groups. But we got to, charity begins at home, and we got to take care of home first. And it's a necessity because there's some things that can happen that could take us all out if we don't get it together. So get this book here and you'll see what I mean about, us coming together, being creative, and making it better for everybody. That's the whole purpose of this book. And everyone that's read it so far have told me nothing but good things about it. So join us. Thank you.
So we have God's Child, we got Lucifer's Revenge. We ought to be able to sell 1 million copies of each one of these books. Though that money, I know the chairman. I will let him speak for himself on that. But the monies that comes in for Lucifer Revenge goes toward the majority of it goes towards the building of this nation for our children. We ought to be able to go out and buy sell get 1 million copies of this book should be sold, so that we can build this nation and start preparing for our children. And that's our primary objective. We old guys, we in our 70s now, and we're not here to showboat and go buy big cars and big houses. We here for one reason. I remember Bill Cosby show said, it was talking about his parents, how nice they are towards the children, and he say, why wasn't they like that when I was a child? Well, because they trying to get into heaven right now. Well, we know that we're at that point in our lives where we got to fix any damage that we ignored or didn't fix, and that's what we're working on. So don't worry about we're gonna get rich and turn our nose at you. No, we're gonna recycle that money back into building this nation for our women and our children and our future.
It's
That's what this is all
necessary.
about.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Go to lucifersrevenge.net, get a copy of this book. Those funds are going to be recycled into the foundation of our salvation. Get God's Child. The chairman, when you buy a copy of that book, it helps empower us to do what we're doing. We're bringing it straight to you here on the Straight Talk Network and the Straight Talk Morning Show. Hey, Chairman, we end up going the whole hour. I thought we was going to have a short show since my son wasn't on here, but everything happened for a reason.
Yeah. Well, we got some information,
Yeah.
My people perish for lack of information. You know that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this has been the Straight Talk Morning Show on the Straight Talk Network. We're looking for us next Saturday. We're going to be doing some private shows for people when you join the nation, when you're going to meet the Queen Mother. When you go to uaarnation.org, that Queen Mother, man, she's one powerful woman. She's a little woman and very quiet, and she was, oh man, she's a beautiful woman. At 90, she's still looking good. So go check her out. Go check her out on our website. Get involved, man. Get out. You've been brainwashed, hook, wink, bamboozled, and led astray. We don't have much time to get this show on the road. So get with us. Hey, it's been the Straight Talk Morning Show. This is Andre Hill and your host and our co-host, Terrence Lake, the chairman of UAAR. We see you next.